Tilt your camera as well.
Tilt my camera.
And we are live.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I'd like to welcome everybody to the special council meeting of Thursday, February 6th, 2025. Before I call the meeting to order, I just want to note the Councillor Hutchison sends her regrets, and Councillor Shell will be attending remotely. And I just ask that anyone who comes to give a deputation, adjust the mic so you're talking directly into it, because this meeting is being recorded and streamed live, as well as it's put on YouTube after, just so we can hear everyone clearly. And also, please silence your cell phones while in chamber. The Township of Oro-Medonte acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe people and ancestral territory of the Huron-Wendat. The Anishinaabe include the Odawa, the Ojibwa, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. It continues today as the home for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the historic Métis community in Penetanguishene. The Anishinaabe people continue to have an enduring relationship with this land, specifically the Chippewas of Rama First Nations, the Chippewa Tri-Council, and the Williams Treaty First Nations. The Huron-Wendat Nation also continues to pay respect and protect their ancestors and heritage on this land. We honor the Indigenous history and culture that has thrived for millennia in this territory and the treaties that bind us together as partners in the spirit of a shared, sustainable, and prosperous future. We are all treaty people. Our commitment begins with acknowledging the truth so that we can move forward together towards reconciliation. Miigwech. May we have a draft motion to adopt the agenda, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that the agenda for the special council meeting of Thursday, February 6th, 2025 be received and adopted.
All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. May we have a motion to go past 4 hours if necessary?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that Rule 14.20A, as per the procedural bylaw number 2023-043, be suspended in order to allow the meeting to proceed past the 4-hour adjournment requirement if necessary.
Thank you. All in favor? That is carried. Does any members of council have a pecuniary interest to declare at this time? Seeing none, if you do find that you're in the situation where you are have a pecuniary interest, please just acknowledge it at that time. We're now at section 4, not pecuniary interest, deputations. We have a deputation by Ted Markle and Emily Lazarus from Mariposa Hospice. Welcome, and please come to the mic, adjust, and continue when ready, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Ted Markle.
And I'm Emily.
And we are indeed from Mariposa House Hospice, and we're grateful to have your time and attention today, and we'll take it away. Next slide, please. So my first message is thank you to Council and to Oro-Medonte for your steadfast support of Mariposa House Hospice. We make a difference in people's lives at the end, and a big difference in the lives of their loved ones as well. And the fact that you've been there with us in lockstep since we opened is appreciated. And but with that, we want to tell you a bit more about our story. One thing that I've learned in the year since I've become the executive director of Mariposa House Hospice is that often hospice is understood at a superficial level, but isn't really understood unless people have had a close experience of it. And one way I like to tell it is that, well, if every organization or business has a product, ours is attention and compassion. And my colleague Emily will tell you a little bit more about that.
So at hospice, compassion is built into everything that we do. The staff that I lead are made up of nurses and PSWs, and they are the most compassionate group of people that you will come across. When Ted asked me, there's a quote up there that I did about what compassion means and what paying attention means. And really, our staff are getting to know these residents when they are not able to communicate with us anymore. They're not speaking, maybe they're totally unresponsive, but we know what side of the bed they like to lay on. We know if they want their feet covered up or not, if they like warm blankets on or just a light sheet. We get to know these things just by paying attention to what they need, and by extension, the families as well. So at the hospice, we have 5 beds there. Excitingly going to be opening up our 6th room, which we're very excited about. We got that news recently. So 6 beds that we can provide end-of-life palliative care to 24/7. There's a nurse and a PSW in the building, so we're tending to all of the medical needs, but we really look at these residents and their families holistically, and we're making sure that their emotional, spiritual, physical needs, all of that is all met. We are very inclusive of family and friends. We welcome them in. We want those important people to come in and support their loved ones while they are dying with us. And all of these services are offered at no cost for the residents and their families, which is wonderful, and why donations are so important. This next slide here is just some photos. In the left there, this is a past resident. His name was Roger. He enjoyed a Stella every night before he went to bed. So just an example there of kind of meeting those holistic needs. Sometimes for somebody, it's having a beer when they go to bed that they need to do. Some people, it's having their pet close by. So you can see a photo there of a dog up in bed with one of our residents. And then the photo on the bottom is actually a church service that we held in our gardens. The resident that we had, faith was very important to her, and she really was planning on going to her last church service on the Sunday, but things changed quickly and she had to come into hospice before she was able to go to that church service. So we invited the church to us, and they all came out and were able to support her, and she could be a part of that while she was at hospice with us. So just an example of what we can do when we're meeting the needs there. It's not, just medical things like in a hospital setting or somewhere else. It's more focused that way. But, yeah. Sure, yeah. Go to the next slide. Here's some photos of inside the hospice. So we are a very home-like setting. We try to, tell people, put your feet up, relax, use this space like you would at your home. So we have some really beautiful areas in the hospice. You can see a photo there on the top left is our screened porch. So this is a nice spot outside overlooking the gardens where they can be protected from the elements a little bit, but still close to nature. We have a lovely family room there with a little kids corner and some musical instruments so people can relax and enjoy their time as a family outside of the resident room if they'd like to do that. On the bottom left there is the picture of the nursing station. So sometimes our staff are sitting there while they're doing their documentation and what have you. And you can see a picture there of a little lamp that is called our butterfly lamp. And it's very important in the house. We light that in honor of our residents when they die, and it stays lit for 24 hours in their honor. And then there is a photo there of what a typical resident room looks like. So you can see it is very large, lots of space. It's probably the biggest thing that people comment on when they're touring compared to other healthcare facilities that they may be familiar with. Lots of room, and the wooden cabinet there on the side actually has a Murphy bed that folds out from it. So family are able to stay nice and close and comfortably when they're supporting their loved one. So eligibility and access, how do you get in, who can come to us? So we're looking at people that have a life-limiting illness, terminal diagnosis with a prognosis, usually of days to weeks, but less than 3 months is kind of the time frame that we look at. Our average length of stay is less than 2 weeks, but we will have residents for sometimes just a matter of hours and other times for a couple months. Our goal is comfort, managing symptoms. We're not looking at doing any active treatment or investigations, anything like that. So these people are just ready to let their body do what it's going to do naturally, and our goal is just keeping them comfortable while they do that. People that come to us are looking for an alternate setting. These folks maybe are at hospital because they have high care needs and they're not able to return home, or maybe they don't want to die at home for whatever reason, and so they come to us and we're able to care for them. And all of our referrals for a bed come through Ontario Health at Home, previously known as the LIN or CCAC Home Care. So talk to family doctors, and usually a home care file is started that way for us.
I think Emily can, as you can tell, Emily lives that same level of compassion that her entire team has. And one of the things that I observed in my first days, I think compassion is something that you can fake for a day, maybe 2 days, but you can't fake it day in and day out. And this team gives of themselves and pays true attention to the needs of every resident. A way that I found to describe what hospice is all about is, imagine that you're helping a loved one through their end-of-life palliative period, and you've been at home and you've slept an hour here or an hour there for weeks on end. You're exhausted. You're maybe not even the best version of yourself. And then magically, there's a new wing on your home. And that wing is staffed by professional, compassionate PSWs and registered nurses who are going to take over the heavy lifting for you for the last days and weeks of your loved one's life. And then for that period, you go back to being the loving spouse, the loving son, the loving daughter. That's what hospice is. So our impact since we opened in 2021, we've served over 420 residents. After Aurelia, the townships of Oro-Medonte and Severn are the most important geographic homes of the people that we serve. We've touched the lives of thousands of family members and loved ones. About 65% of our admissions have a malignant diagnosis. Our occupancy rate is consistently over 85%, and we're frequently at capacity. We employ 26 people, and we have over 60 trained volunteers. Next point on our funding. So every year we have to raise more than 50% of our funding in the community. Ontario Health funds us at just under 50%. And how do we do that? Well, we have a lot of in memoriam gifts. We have patio stones that are engraved permanently, and we have a lot of events. The Angel Tree at Mariposa Market every year. We have a fashion show coming up in May at Casino Rama. Keep your eyes open. The tickets go fast. We have a golf tournament right here in Oro-Medonte, obviously. We have our Hike for Hospice in May, the Rotary Car Lottery, an autumn concert right here in Oro-Medonte, and then we also have people who join the Butterfly Club to give regular giving at a specific amount and a specific frequency. Here's a testimonial that I'll share with you. I would say all of our testimonials kind of have this same melody, the same recurring theme. Thank you for the care and treatment you provided for our father in his final days. We can't even begin to describe how grateful we are that you were able to care for him in ways that we couldn't. You all showed him and us so much kindness, compassion, and humor when we needed it the most. We are eternally grateful for you and this facility. I think it's important to mention the word humor there when I tell people that I'm working at hospice. Often the reaction is, oh, that must be a dreary place to work. And it's not. It's alive. You know, our motto is honoring every moment. Make the most of every day. And so there is laughter. There is music. There is visiting. The whole idea is let's make our residents as comfortable as they can be so that people can get the most out of every day that they have left. So capacity, this is really the main reason why we're here today. 33 times in the first 3 quarters of this fiscal year, we had residents die while waiting for admission after requesting a bed because we were at capacity. Our catchment area is both growing and aging faster than the provincial average. So we have just completed a new strategic plan with the board that calls for a doubling of our capacity from 5 to 10 beds by 2030. We got, as Emily mentioned, we just got approval for funding for our 6th bed, and that will be live and operational as of April 1st of this year. And we will do an expansion project to make sure that we are ready to meet the growing hospice needs of our catchment area. But to do so, we need to deliver on an expansion project estimated to cost $4 million, and we will raise all of these funds locally. Which leads to our ask. Our ask is for a one-time contribution to our expansion capital campaign of $30,000, and then annual core operations fundings of $12,000 for 4 years. I'd just like to add a couple of quick points. As I mentioned earlier, after the city of Orillia itself, the townships of Severn and Oro-Medonte are the biggest sources of our residents. Some very important Oro-Medonte families have come through our doors. The township of Severn has made an identical commitment to us that I'm asking of you today. Thank you very much for your time. We're ready to take your questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Council, I'll open the floor for any questions at this time. Councillor Young.
Thank you, Mayor. Just listen to you, the impact, it really hits home. Question, who takes care of the staff, given what they see every day, and what professional help do they get?
Yeah, so that's part of my job, is looking after them. And we, in August, we hired a social worker. And this was something that was a goal of ours from day one opening, but obviously being nonprofit and a new organization, we had to take things step by step. And so with one-time funding from the government, we were able to kind of launch our grief and bereavement program. And a big part of that is staff support and education, and making sure that they have the resources that they need, because it is a lovely place to work. As Ted mentioned, there's laughter and all of that. It is light on some days, but there are obviously, the reality is that we're looking after dying people every day and handling a lot of that grief that they're carrying as well. So it is hard, but we're all privileged to do it, and it really is an honor.
Thank you, Councillor Bard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. The process, you mentioned that it usually starts with the family doctor, and I don't really want to start getting into numbers here, but we're all aware that there are many people without a family doctor. So what is sort of the net that catches people that may not have that luxury? It shouldn't be a luxury, but...
Yeah, it's a necessity. And yeah, the reality is a lot of people in our area don't have a family doctor. So something that we do often is take these calls and guide people through the process, how to get connected. There is a family health team, the Couchiching Family Health Team, that will connect unattached patients to a palliative family doctor. So the goal there is that there are no palliative patients in our area without at the end of life. And people can refer themselves to home care for a hospice referral. So the option is always to just, call the direct number and get the process started that way. But this is kind of a bigger question that we're working on solving at a provincial and regional level as well.
Thank you.
I might,
Sorry, go ahead.
If I may, I might just add that our medical director, Dr. Erica Catford, a proud Oro-Medonte resident, will take on any unaccompanied patients or residents upon their admission.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Deputy Mayor and then back to you, Councillor Young.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentations, Ted and Emily, and thanks for what you do. In the alternative, what would someone's experience be if there were not hospices, if that's the plural? Can you explain that, please?
Sure. Yeah. So sometimes somebody's goal is to remain at home and we can get the services in place and it all goes wonderful. But the reality is that's not always how it happens. There's many times when somebody is dying and for whatever their diagnosis is, the symptoms that might come along with that require medical management. The reality is our home care system is strapped right now, and sometimes getting that urgent care out to somebody's home is difficult. And so, you might have hours that somebody may be requiring some symptom management and they're just not able to get it. It puts a lot on the family at the bedside. That is a huge, huge factor in somebody's death at home, is if they have the supports around them to be able to die comfortably. Not everybody is able to take the time off work and to be there around the clock. Not everybody can afford to pay for 24/7 private nursing to do it. So not every story is a sad story. There are beautiful deaths that happen at home. But for those 33 people that wanted to come to hospice, it wasn't the end that they wanted. It would all look different depending on their situation, but I can imagine symptoms uncontrolled and families not supported.
Supplemental?
Would they otherwise, a percentage of them be in a hospital?
There is a big percent that's in hospital. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but a lot of our admissions do come directly from hospital. Some of these folks, it may be a situation where their goal was to remain at home and something changed, they needed more help. And so they ended up at hospital kind of in an emergency type situation. And so we will do a direct admission from hospital that way. Now we also do have a project with the Simcoe County Paramedicine program, so that for these situations, if there is a 911 call made that for a palliative emergency, the paramedics can go out to the house, do their assessment, and if they deem that this is a palliative emergency, this person would be better cared for in a hospice setting instead of taking up the emergency room resources, they can call us, and if we have a bed available and we have that referral in place, we'll bring them right in.
Thank you. Yeah. Ted, please.
From a public finances point of view, a bed in hospice costs under a third of what a bed in hospital costs.
So I'm going to go to Councillor Young and then Councillor Schell.
Thank you, Mayor. Just having listened to you, I commend you for what you do. It's got to be a difficult job, day in and day out sort of thing, and keep your wits about you, or at least distance yourself somewhat as much as you can from those they befriend, I guess, in some way, sort of thing. But I commend you again. Did I hear you say there's only 5 beds?
So currently we have 5 beds. When our building was built, it was built with 6 rooms.
Yes.
So 5 of our beds are funded, and then we'll be opening the 6th room shortly.
If I may just ask, just a follow-up question. I apologize for not knowing. I believe I know, but where are you located?
We're at 1140 Brody Drive. So if you're in Aurelia, just behind the Canadian Tire.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Schell?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. Councillor Young just asked the question that I was going to ask, the location for the public to know.
Okay, no, it's I had the pleasure of visiting it with county, and it's nicely nestled in there. You would not even know Aurelia was there. It's on a wooded lot. It's a very beautiful spot, and I do want to commend you because hospice is such a great way, even though we don't want to go out, right? So they're very professional, and I hope we'll find some money that we can get to be a part of the program. We're still going through, excuse me, budget deliberations, but there's no doubt that you people are classy and run a great organization. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Ted and Emily, and
thank you.
You will be hearing back from us in the new year once we get through the enjoyment of budget deliberations.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we do have a motion.
I was going to ask for that. Didn't want to rush you, though. I just want to make sure you're comfortable and ready whenever.
Okay. Moved by Young, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that the deputation correspondence presented by Ted Markle, Executive Director, and Emily Lazarus, Clinical Manager, Mariposa House Hospice, re-grant subsidy request be received. That Section 14.80 of the procedural bylaw 2023-043 be waived, and that the grant subsidy request be referred to the 2025-2026 budget deliberations.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions, or if not, then I'll call the vote. All in favor? None opposed. That's passed. We're now at item 4B, deputation by Rebecca Carrick on behalf of the Couchiching OPP Detachment Board, who is coming Zoom. So, Rebecca, whenever, are you there? I'm sorry.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Do you want to proceed whenever you're ready?
For sure. I'm not too sure why you can't see me or whether you're supposed to be able to see me, but as long as you can hear me, that's the most important part.
Yeah.
So I hold the position of Secretary Treasurer for the newly formed Couchiching OPP Detachment Board, which is the catchment area of the Aurelia Detachment, including Oro-Medonte. It's fairly new board. It was formatted in April with the Community Safety and Policing Act. So because it's newly formed, we don't have a previous year's budgets to be able to call upon for what may be needed for 2025. So we did use the previous Aurelia board's budget as for consideration. I'm going to be pretty quick. The main area is salary and wages, and that's for the part-time position of me. I look after the minutes and agendas and all of that type of stuff for the board. That expense does include CPP, EI, OMERS, Sun Life benefits as well as WSIB. There is, under training and traveling, there is a training conference in June that has been budgeted for the board to be able to go, especially with the new legislation that has come out. It's a very much hands-on, gets them in, know what their responsibilities are and what's needed of them going forward. There's membership, which is to the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards, which is who puts on the conference in June. It's kind of, it goes in hand with our insurance. So I'm going to jump back and forth a little bit here between the membership and the insurance. Because the board is not a committee of council, it doesn't fall under the indemnification insurance that all the municipalities would have had. So the board needed to have its own insurance policy. And the policy that the board decided to go with is a group policy that we need to have the membership in order to be able to get that figure for. So the membership, subscription, and the insurance, they go hand in hand. So under miscellaneous, it's for minor administrative costs and special projects, because the board is new and didn't know what was going to be kind of the idea, the scope going forward, what special projects they are going to want to do in collaboration with the four areas. That's why there is that section. Going forward in 2026, it is going to be more of a comprehensive budget. The board would have then been in full swing for a year. When the budget came forward, the board actually didn't have its first inaugurational meeting until October. So it was very new. So that's kind of it for me. I'm short and sweet. If you've got any questions.
No, well, thank you very much. I'll open the floor now to members of council for any questions in regards to this matter. Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. Is there a comparable line item that existed prior to this, before the formation of this board? Were we, in fact, I guess the number we're looking at here is 23,850. Was that something that was spent previously on the board, or a board?
That is,
or comparable
sorry.
governance?
I can
So
speak.
since it,
CAO Binns is going to try and provide some information. Please go.
Thank you. From Oro-Medonte's perspective, no, this would be a new addition, as was outlined in the presentation. This is a new governance structure, so it would be a net new adjustment to the 25-26 budget.
Any other questions? Well, you have the floor. No. Any Councillor Clark?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, just out of curiosity, is there a reason why the City of Aurelia's allocation is lower than everyone else's?
because remuneration was kind of included in their figures. Next year, it won't be. It's not part of the operating budget. It was more for an information piece, and their remuneration bylaw for their member of council is different than everybody else's. So that's the only reason why their figure is lower.
Fine. Okay. Any other questions at this time? Seeing none, thank you very much, Rebecca, for making yourself available, and safe travels wherever you're heading. And we'll see you at the next time there's an update. Is that fair?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Madam Clerk, may we have a motion to receive?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that the deputation correspondence presented by Rebecca Carrick, Community Standards Coordinator, Secretary Treasurer, Couchiching OPP Detachment Board, budget presentation be received. That section 14.80 of Procedural Bylaw 2023-043 be waived, and that the grant subsidy request be referred to the 2025-2026 budget deliberations.
Thank you very much. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, that is passed. We are now at section 5, open forum. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone registered to speak at open forum?
No, we do not.
Okay. I will then open it up to anyone in council chamber. If anyone wishes to speak to any agenda items today, just come to the mic, announce your name, and adjust it so you're speaking directly into it. Don't all rush at once, but you know. So, okay, well, that open forum is concluded. We're now at reports of municipal officers for action. Ms. Scheffel and Ms. Johnson, would you like to provide summary comments to item 6A, please?
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. Municipal insurance costs in Ontario have been rising significantly due to various factors such as natural disasters, increased litigation, limited market competition. Over the past 5 years, our township's insurance premiums have increased by 32%. Despite advocacy efforts, there has been little progress in addressing these rising costs and liability issues. In the fall of 2022, the County of Simcoe, along with other local municipalities, began exploring the idea of establishing a local insurance pool. A pool arrangement allows multiple entities to share the financial risks associated with insurance and potentially leading to substantial savings. To assess the feasibility of this idea, the County of Simcoe retained Axima actuarial and insurance advisors to conduct a feasibility review and business case for the municipal insurance pool. Axima has extensive experience in setting up similar pool structures, having successfully established insurance pools for the Durham region in 2000 and Waterloo region in 1998. AXMA's analysis showed the potential for substantial savings for all member municipalities and guided the development of a proposed insurance pool structure for the County of Simcoe and its lower tiers. The coverage provided by the pool is similar for general liability and automobile insurance. However, the township is required to seek its own coverage for cyber insurance and covered the increased cost of deductibles. Claims and deductibles remain the township's responsibility, separate from the municipal pool structure. The feasibility studies showed that the township would achieve cost savings and could fund claims and increased deductibles from the insurance reserve. The township's current policy expires June 30th, 2025, and the county is seeking a decision from member municipalities, including the township of Oro-Medonte, on joining the pool by signing a subscribers agreement by March 1st of 2025. The municipal pool would then commence June 1st, 2025. To provide a more detailed presentation to council and answer any questions, I would like to introduce Ryan Durrell from AXMA Actuarial Insurance Advisors. He will present an overview of the municipal pool insurance, a summary of their findings, and recommendations based on the feasibility review and business case.
That was a fantastic summary. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me to run through the presentation with you. It was great to be here for the beginning of the meeting and see the really important decisions you guys have to make around budget. And so it's nice to be standing here creating a little bit more for you through the work that we do. So I'll have to look up to see my slides, just to make sure I'm on the right spot. So next slide, please. So as mentioned, insurance premiums have been quite unstable over the last few years. It's been a hard insurance market, and we were engaged to look at alternatives to the current way of doing things. Having conducted the feasibility study, as mentioned, it was clear that there was a strong business case for an alternative, and now we're in the implementation phase and looking for municipalities to sign on to the proposed solution. Next slide. The proposed solution, as mentioned, is an insurance pool. It will be the third of its kind in Ontario, the first two being Waterloo and Durham's. It's been 25 years since a new pool was created. You might be wondering, why did it take a quarter century to do that? During that period from about 2005 to about 2017-18, we had a really long, protracted period of soft insurance market conditions, which broadly speaking meant that coverage became more and more available and less expensive. And during that period, nobody's out looking for alternatives to save even more money. So it really isn't until we get to the hard insurance market with the costs going up that we start looking anew at ways to do things differently. That said, the other two pools have continued to deliver significant value to their member municipalities throughout that period. So it works whether it's a hard market or a soft market, and we'll talk a little bit about how savings are achieved. Next slide. So why start an insurance pool? Next slide. Fundamentally because insurance is actually expensive. Insurance premiums projected for 2025 for the 18 municipalities, including the county, were estimated to be about $20.6 million. Out of that $20.6 million, 34% of that was expected to be paid out in terms of claims, with the balance, the 66%, really coming from profitability and I need to look at my slide, and risk margin for the insurer, but also for expenses, the operating expenses of the insurers who have marketing budgets, et cetera, as well as, lots of physical offices and so on to be funded, as well as broker compensation for the placement of all these 18 policies and premium taxes. Next slide. So what we're really talking about when we talk about an insurance pool is self-insurance. We're going to do some of this ourselves, whereas we used to do it through an insurer. And really self-insurance is a bit like making meals at home. The end result is fundamentally the same versus buying insurance, which is going out to eat in a restaurant. Next slide. So why do we buy insurance? It's convenient. It's a single price. You can see it on the menu, and it's 1 year stable. We know what the price is for the year, and the insurance costs are known for that particular period. Next slide. Insurers provide specialty items we can't do ourselves. And so there's some risks like very, very large claims, as well as specialty risks like cyber that we may not want to take on because they're specialty items. Next slide. And of course, service, especially if you're a smaller municipality, getting access to the services that you get that come with your insurance policy is important. Things like risk management and claims management, where you may not have the ability to staff up for those functions. Insurance brings that within the insurance premium. Next slide. So why might we not want to buy insurance? And first and foremost, cost, because insurance, pun intended, comes at a premium, as we mentioned earlier. Next slide. But also because as we can build out those additional services internally, it means we don't need the insurers. We can do that stuff ourselves at a lower cost. Next slide. So how do we go about buying less insurance? First and foremost, investing in risk management is critical to avoiding claims in the first place, which will ultimately lead to lower insurance premiums. That's a long-term play and also involves significant investment. One of the faster things we can do is increase our deductible or self-insured retention, but doing that means that we have more volatility within the financials of the municipalities. So a pool gets us together and uses the tools insurers use to stabilize that potential uncertainty. It also allows us to centralize resources like risk management and claims management and basically build out those in-house capabilities so we can do more ourselves. Next slide. The insurance coverage, as mentioned, will be largely the same as what you have now. In fact, what we're going to do is take 18 small policies, hopefully 18. We're up to 14 small policies. We're going to combine into a single large policy that's going to cover the same elements that you have now in a single large policy that has the limits for the largest need, which means the smaller municipalities will benefit from larger limits available to them at no additional cost. Next slide. So the pool structure visually starts with a municipality deductible. It's important that municipalities continue to have deductibles in order to make sure that municipalities are invested in risk management and that they have some stake in claims. Above that will be this pooled layer of coverage, which will basically bridge the gap between a $500,000 per claim retention and the municipality deductible. So if the municipality's deductible is $10,000, the pooled section will be $490,000. And then above that, we're not saying don't buy insurance. We're just saying buy it differently. We're going to continue to buy insurance on what we call an excess basis, so above $500,000. Next slide. Diving in a little bit to deductibles. Deductibles are important. What's also important is fairness across the municipalities in the pool. So we're looking to standardize the deductibles by municipality size so that each municipality of a similar size is accessing the pool capacity in the same way. And so those deductibles do change a little bit, but the cost of the increased deductibles, where there are some, has been included in the levy, which is replacing the premium, in order to provide the necessary credit to offset the increased cost to the municipalities. So that's being factored in. Next slide. So just thinking about a scenario, we have a $15 million claim, a massive accident, motor vehicle accident. How will that be funded through the pool? Similar to today, the municipality will take on their individual deductible, which on auto would be $10,000 across the board. Above that, the pool will cover $490,000, which is a large sum, but pales in comparison to the $14.5 million that the insurer will cover. So we are not looking to cover catastrophic risks. We're looking to cover the kinds of losses that are predictable and consistent year after year. So that's why the $500,000 was selected. Next slide. So what does this look like status quo, what we're doing today versus what we're proposing? As mentioned, $20.6 million was the projected 2025 premiums for the entire group. That's the gray bar you can see. And municipalities are retaining about $1.8 million. That's the blue section. That's the deductible as it sits now. Next slide. What we're looking to do is replace that old way of doing things with slightly different deductibles. So the deductible piece is stretching up to $2 million. Then the pool is going to take on that yellow section. So that $500,000 is going to be funded by the yellow section, which is $8.4 million. And then we're going to use $7.7 million to purchase excess insurance. And this is all being actuarially modeled. In doing so, we can provide the same coverage at up to, and I say up to is important, 19.2% savings over what's being done now. Next slide. This won't be a more complicated structure for the individual municipalities. So as you can see here, everything's going to be covered under a single levy, pool levy, which replaces your insurance premium at $16.1 million. Next slide. Looking inside that 16.1, so you get a sense of how that 16.1 is going to be distributed, we're going to use about $4.5 million of that to cover the expected losses within that retention that sits above the municipality deductible but below the insurance premium. So $4.5 million is the expected claims. The actuaries have identified the need to put a buffer into that, a risk margin of $815,000. That's the number necessary to be confident 4 times out of 5 that we're going to have more than enough money to fund the losses that come in. $1.575 million has been earmarked for operational expenses. That's going to be the pool staff, the risk management staff, claims management, claims system, accounting, auditing, actuarial services. So that's where the operational cost is included. $7.7 million is going to be used to pay for the excess insurance, as mentioned earlier. And at the far end of that bar chart, you can see $1.5 million. That's a surplus contribution as laid out by the actuaries. As I mentioned earlier, they've funded the $815,000 per the actuarial principles to make sure that we have enough money 4 times out of 5. The $1.5 million is an additional buffer to make sure that we don't run out of money at all. In fact, we're going to go one step further. Next slide. Before we get there, how do we generate savings? Claims are claims. They happen. They're going to continue to happen. And I think with the way the world is moving, claims are going to continue to get worse. So nothing about this says we're going to be able to dodge all sorts of claims or change that picture. Really what we're generating savings by doing is replacing a significant portion of our for-profit insurance purchase with a not-for-profit solution done by the municipalities for the municipalities. That's the pooled section. One of the big areas where we save money is taking 18 separate insurance placements and turning it into one. And so we're going to reduce significantly the acquisition costs of the insurance or the brokerage placement costs. Additional claim savings may come out and emerge over time as we build out those in-house services and we're able to deliver costly claim services like adjusting costs within an in-house solution. And so we might see that, but none of that has been included in the projections you see here. So there are additional things we can do as we go down the road. Next slide. In order to plan for additional stability, working with the technical working group, which is made up of members from various municipalities within the Simcoe group, what we're proposing is that instead of taking the full 19.2% savings right away, we defer 9.2% for now and just deliver 10% upfront in order to use that 9.2 additional percent savings to further bolster our reserves and promote stability. This will give us sort of belt and suspender startup capital. It'll promote stability year after year and will give us smoother year-over-year budgeting. Next slide. What does this look like? How does it stack up? So just going back to the earlier comments, $815,000 as suggested by the actuaries for risk margin, $1.5 million surplus contribution, and $2 million of additional surplus, which is from the deferred savings. That will give us essentially a buffer equal to the amount of the expected claims. This is a significant buffer and will put us in a strong financial position as we roll forward to continue to deliver increasing savings to the municipalities as we roll through the next 5 years. Next slide. So putting it all together, what will the municipalities in the pool, what should the municipalities in the pool expect to see over the coming years? Right out of the gate, a 10% savings starting June 1st. Following that, about year 3, we will be able to do away with the $1.5 million surplus contribution suggested by the actuaries, which delivers an additional, my memory is not that good, 6.7% savings. So that savings gap will increase. And around year 5 or 6, we'll be able to do away with the 9.2% deferred savings, and we'll have enough surplus that we don't need to do that, and savings will increase to 26% over what's being done today. Now, obviously, premiums will change over time, but this is a like-for-like comparison. If their premiums go up by 7%, ours might too, so we're just keeping things tracked the same way. So this is all done on a similar dollar basis. So some operational considerations. Proposed launch date is June 1st, as mentioned earlier. That was a great summary again, I must say. That date is convenient for absolutely nobody. So while all the municipalities may have different renewal dates, January 1st, April 1st, June 30th, September, nobody has a June 1st date. So we picked a perfectly inconvenient date, but it is a great date for a lot of reasons. One, it's administratively convenient because insurers have already sealed their reinsurance for the year, so it's easier to deal with them and get numbers right away. All of the levy allocations will be done as of June 1st and therefore will be known for budgeting the next year. And it will take some of the burden off staff who are currently doing it for January 1st, who are trying to do insurance renewals in tandem with budgets. So doing that slightly off cycle helps there too. Joining the pool will require signing on to a subscribers agreement. And this agreement actually proposes a 5-year commitment period for the initial period. And there's a couple really good reasons for that. One, it's going to create the stability and the commitment for the first 5 years. It will allow us to negotiate those excess insurance terms because it's showing the commitment of the municipalities to the structure. The other thing it does is allow the municipalities to see the full breadth of savings before they decide whether they want to renew again. So very important that 5 years is a strong commitment. The advisory board that will be created by the subscribers agreement will govern the pool and will be made up of one member from each municipality and 1 vote per member. So the smallest and the largest municipalities within the group, including the county, will have the same level of say on the advisory board. The advisory board will be responsible for setting out the levies, so essentially setting the premiums with the advice of the actuary. A pool manager will be hired in and will answer to the advisory board and will be responsible for those day-to-day operations. The subscribers agreement also lays out the entry and exit conditions. After 5 years, if a municipality wishes to exit, they can do so, and it lays those terms out. Next slide. This is becoming less and less relevant, but not all municipalities were required to start. So at the outset, when we weren't sure if all the municipalities would join, we've gone way past that point, and we're now, I think, above 75% or 65%. So we're past that point, but not all municipalities are required. We can deliver those savings with as little as 50% participation. It's important to note that not joining at inception may have some consequences if looking to join later, because if looking to join later, it may have impacts on surplus. All the municipalities who've been putting away or being part of putting away that $4.5 million surplus contribution, in order to join the pool later, you'll have to make up your share of that, which will be perceived as an additional cost burden later. The other thing is municipalities looking to join later may not fit the criteria. So all the municipalities have been vetted to today, but they may not fit the criteria for joining. And ultimately, the advisory board made up of the municipalities that are already included will have final say as to whether or not somebody's being admitted. And the Waterloo Pool, who spoke at the county council, pointed out that they'd been approached before and decided not to change their member makeup over time. Pool staff, as mentioned, will be hired in to take care of those administrative features that are currently relied on via the insurer and to coordinate with the insurer those existing resources. So we're not looking to download any additional work on the staff outside of somebody sitting on the advisory board. Claims handling, including the hiring or the appointment of adjusters and hiring a defense counsel, will be handled by pool staff or by the insurer, as the case may be, and organization of all the meeting materials, etc., including organizing inspections and so on. I think that's the last slide.
No, thank you very much for your presentations. Before you sit down, just Are there, I'll open the floor for questions or comments at this time. Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Yes, please. Thank you very much for the presentation. That's excellent, and it's always good to get some news about saving some money. Can you just explain for everyone how the pool gets initially filled?
Oh, it's on June 1st, existing insurance policies will be canceled for those looking to join, and new levies, which are in place of premiums, will be paid into the pool, which will include all the necessary funding in order for the first year operation, including administrative costs, the surplus contributions, etc. And the total cost of that levy is being set at a 10% reduction over your expiring 2024 premiums. So it's coming from essentially your insurance premiums. It's just being moved into the pool for the year starting June 1st, 2025 and running to June 1st, 2026. So really it's coming from a cost you're already paying, but at a lower cost.
Okay, thank you very much. And the 18 members would be the 16 towns and townships, the city of Orillia, and the county of Simcoe.
It's 17 individual municipalities and the county. The only municipality not part of the project is Barrie.
Thank you. And I just wanted to clarify as well, your point about the 5 years was also having a commitment from that group in order that they wouldn't get offers from insurance companies and be picked off out of the group over that time period and then weaken the strength of the pool.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. And would you take over current litigations?
No, the way the insurance policies work, that would stay with whoever the current insurer is. So those claims would continue as they do today.
Okay, thank you very much for all those, and thank you for your indulgence on my...
No, it's good. I like to be educated. Insurance is not my strong point. So just in regards to, you're saying the specialty items that are not included, such as cyber security, right? Or what other elements would we have? And it may be best for our staff. And what other elements would be not included in this pool versus as we are currently covered?
I can speak to that, Your Worship. As outlined in the report in the presentation, cyber is one. There's an out-of-province medical, some of the benefit coverage that's typically in employment benefits. There are other specialty policies. For example, if we were looking at a large special event, there may be specific policies. Builder's risk is another one that comes to mind. So there's a number of individual policies that would be excluded, but they're all small. The larger global coverage is, as Ryan outlined, is like for like in what's being proposed.
And then would we be seeking out those incremental policies above and beyond what we would purchase within the pool?
We would, and I'll maybe turn it over to Ryan just to elaborate on that.
Thanks. Yeah, some of those policies, those ancillary policies like cyber, for example, which are not ubiquitous across the full group, and therefore we didn't include it. Some of those policies would continue to be procured the way they are today, but the pool, once the advisory board established, may also look at doing group programs for those kinds of things to make procurement of those easier and more cost effective. But again, we didn't want to increase our scope beyond where the big ticket items were at the outset. So as the advisory board gets formed in March, it's likely something they'll move quickly to look to provide a group approach for additional savings for municipalities. Around cyber is one of the ones the technical working group has said they'd be really interested in, as well as environmental liability for municipalities purchasing that, user group programs, etc.
Okay, no, thank you very much, Ryan. Councillor Young.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. You mentioned, Ryan, if I heard you right, that this pool is not going to cover catastrophic claims, such as large fires and that sort of thing. Is that correct?
Well, the pool retention isn't going to be responsible for covering those because the pool is going to purchase insurance above its retention to cover those things. So the total limits provided by the pool will be likely on liability, for example, 50 million, and on property could be 200 to 400 million dollars. So it's still, the capacity will be there, but the municipality's shared component within that pooled layer of 500,000, that part will only be exposed to the maximum of 500,000. So the insurers will do what they do best, is cover these catastrophic losses. So that will continue to be covered, and that will be coordinated by the pool, but it won't be the municipality's pooled funds that are responsible for the bulk of those losses.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Oh, thank you. Councillor Bard?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you, maybe to staff. So mention these other insurance policies that we would have. Do we generally purchase those from the same company, or are they like unique to that situation? I guess I'm thinking more of that. We always hear about bundling and the savings. So if we're spread all over the place, potentially are we losing at that point?
Typically, we would procure those through our current broker, and then they would go to market to get those specific policies. And as Ryan alluded to, I think that's where the economy of scale would come in. As the pool matures, looking at how the pool could procure that for municipalities. And the other one is, and Ryan spoke to it briefly, is user groups. So we have a number of user groups that have insurance requirements to comply with our policies for things like facility rentals. Those are all policies that are typically facilitated by the municipality as well, that could be pooled together and procured where we've got a greater economy of scale.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, then please do give a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to my colleagues on council. I just think that essentially what we're doing is we're accepting the level of risk at a certain level, but using our better purchasing power by working with our neighboring municipalities to get that economies of scale, purchasing the catastrophic risk insurance, but then we're accepting the level of risk and taking out the profit incentive on those smaller claims, and hopefully having some operational efficiencies as well, as we have a pool manager to facilitate those smaller claims in-house per se.
No, thank you very much. Well said, by the way.
The insurance term is nailed it.
Nailed it. Well, you know what? Well, if you're feeling ill one day, we can loan you Councillor Clark, or Mr. Doyle. He's actually seen 7 of your presentations, so he thinks he's got her pretty down pat as well. So
It's nice to have backups. Thank you.
Yes.
Insurance.
Yes.
The insurance guy.
Any other questions at this time? Seeing none, then, CAO Vince.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to take the opportunity to recognize my colleague, Mark Aiken, at the county, and the team at the county, and the team at AXMA for all the work put into this to get us to this stage. I think this is a very significant piece across the county, and just wanted to recognize the team for pulling this together. Thank you.
Yes, no, it's very well said, because, it's the synergies of all the municipalities coming together, which will hopefully save the taxpayers money at the end of the day. So I'd like to thank Ryan and Ms. Scheffel for your presentation. And Madam Clerk, may we have a motion, please?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that FI 2025-02, Christy Sheffield, Deputy Treasurer, Manager of Accounting, and municipal pool insurance be received and adopted. That Council approve the request to join the local municipal insurance pool effective June 1st, 2025. That the applicable draft bylaw be brought forward for the February 12th, 2025 Council meeting. That the Director of Finance, CFO, or designate be authorized to represent the Township of Oro-Medonte on the County of Simcoe Insurance Pool Advisory Board. That the County of Simcoe be notified of Council's decision under the Deputy Treasurer, Manager of Accounts signature.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Any comments in regards to the draft motion? I'll call the vote then. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Ryan,
for having me.
for your
Much
time and
appreciated.
presentation.
And thank you to county staff for coming with me.
Okay. We're now at item 6B, Curtis Shellswell Municipal Bylaw, the recommendation on the modified police vehicle. Mr. Shellswell, did you want to speak to the report at this time, or?
Mayor Greenlaw, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. If there's any questions, but
Oh, that's fine. Thank you very much. So I'll open the floor now. If there's any questions or comments in regards to the report by Mr. Shellswell. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My only comment would be I think I genuinely agree with the analysis that was undertaken, and I would ask colleagues on council to allocate the potential saving or proceeds from the sale of the Interceptor towards the traffic safety initiatives within the township.
Yes, no, that's correct, and that is the intent from the report. But thank you for making that very clear so the public understands that these funds will be put towards traffic calming initiatives within the township. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, we have a draft motion, please.
Moved by Shell, seconded by Bard. Be it resolved that DS 2025-017 Curtis Shellswell, Manager, Municipal Law, Re 2016 Ford Taurus Interceptor, Modified Police Vehicle, recommendation be received and adopted. That Council approve the divestment of the 2016 Ford Taurus Interceptor, Modified Police Vehicle. That Director of Operations and Community Services be authorized to execute the appropriate agreements on behalf of the Township. That staff continue to work with the Ontario Provincial Police, the Couchiching Police Services Board, and the Township's Traffic Safety Advisory Committee to review opportunities to enhance traffic safety.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Everyone's clear on the motion. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes?
Councillor Shell had his hand up, but I
thought
see it's gone now.
I thought he was voting. Is that correct, Councillor Shell?
Oh, okay, he was voting. Okay, perfect.
He's better on that computer stuff than I am. So we're now at item 6C, which is the pre-budget approval for the 2025 fleet and capital projects. CAO Binns, would you like to proceed when ready?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll turn it over to Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and members of the public. The 2026 draft operating and capital budget will be introduced and presented on March 26, 2025. Today, staff are seeking pre-capital budget approval for specific 2025 fleet and capital projects to enable early procurement at the start of the construction season. This approach leads to favorable pricing and timely completion. Early procurement is crucial for projects with significant lead times, such as specialized fleet and equipment, ensuring timely delivery and cost savings. The pre-budget approval that is being sought today includes fleet replacements totaling $947,000, design work of Bridge 2, which is Bailey Bridge, for $50,000, replacement of 2 generators for Fire Station 3, and the South Operations Yard, totaling $85,000. By utilizing the Canoe Procurement Group, the township can secure competitive fleet quotations and the best market prices, ensuring cost-effective and timely project completion. Additionally, staff are seeking tender approval before the capital budget approval to initiate the procurement process early for various bridge, road, and drainage projects with a combined value of approximately $6,800,000. These projects will be funded through various reserves, including development charges, roads and related assets reserve, equipment, and infrastructure renewal. Attached to the staff report as Appendix 1 are the capital project justification sheets, documents for council approval to purchase and to proceed with each of those purchases and tenders. Each document provides a detailed description of the capital project and its rationale, along with the proposed budget and funding sources for 25 and 2026 and the subsequent years of those projects. This proactive approach supports the township's financial sustainability and operational efficiencies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. Any questions or comments at this time? Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
We don't even have to look anymore. I did notice, Ms. Johnson, that we have a number of debentures. Are these debentures new debentures, and are they offset by retiring debentures?
Thank you, through you, Mayor, to Deputy Mayor Lavoie. Yes, we are reviewing the efficiencies of reaching out to Infrastructure Ontario for debenturing the possible drainage and some of the roads projects. This will allow us, to have more cash inflow and utilization of our reserves. Over 10 years, we're looking at those interest rates. They seem to be quite competitive now, approximately around 3.5% right now over 10 years for, I just recently looked over a $6.5 million debenture. So during the budget process, we're going to be reviewing that with CAO Binns, and we'll bring that forth in our budget documents for council approval.
Supplemental?
No, thank you very much.
Yeah, no. Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. And CAO Binns?
Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. I just wanted to highlight with all that's happening in the news, and I anticipated maybe a question around the implications of tariffs, so I'd like to maybe just hit that one right out of the gate. Obviously, a lot of uncertainty in terms of how that may evolve, and a lot of our local associations and groups are looking at how we build some certainty into our procurement documents, and also when we're getting our tenders back, the due diligence of going through that. So just, I think the message we want to convey to council is that we're very in tune with what's going on. I think it does present some fairly significant risks for capital as well as operations. As both Ms. Johnson and I highlighted as part of the budget overview, how we stage gate projects, how we go through variants will be kind of top of mind and front and center as we work through, I think, what's going to be a really complex and rapidly changing external environment. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Well, thank you very much, CAO Binns. Any other comments or questions at this time? Madam Clerk, may we have a motion, please?
Moved by Lavoie, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that FI 2025-03, Shannon Johnson, Director of Finance, CFO, and Senior Management Team, pre-budget approval for 2025 fleet and capital projects be received and adopted. That staff be directed to commence the tender process in advance of the 2025 budget deliberations for the projects identified in this report. That the 2025 fleet replacements included in report with a total value of $947,000 be approved for purchase, included and funded in the 2025 capital budget. That council approve the design of Bridge 2, Bailey Bridge, in the amount of $50,000 to be included and funded in the 2025 capital budget. That council approved the purchase of replacement generators for Fire Station 3 and the South Operations Yard in the amount of $85,000 to be included and funded in the 2025 capital budget. That the Director of Finance, CFO, be authorized to execute the appropriate agreements on behalf of the township.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is carried. Now we're on to item 7A. Ms. Johnson, if you, this is regarding the 2025-2026 budget amendment for the schedule. So Ms. Johnson, if you want to continue when you're ready.
Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. As council is aware, at its meeting on December 11th, 2024, the 2025-2026 budget overview presentation was given by myself and CAO Binns. We outlined the budget timelines and highlighted the importance of community engagement throughout the process. By involving the community at each stage, the township can create a more transparent and accountable budgeting process. Due to unforeseen delays in reconciling the 2024 actuals for presentation in the 2025-2026 budget documents, adjustments to the original budget timeline are necessary to ensure accuracy and reliability. Despite the delays, it's not anticipated that the final budget approval will adversely affect the successful planning and execution of the 2025 business plan initiatives. The previous staff report just presented to council aimed to facilitate early procurement for certain 2025 capital projects and fleet purchases. This report sought to secure the best pricing and meet stakeholder timelines. Following the pre-budget and tender approval for fleet and capital projects, the revised timeline includes several key dates. Draft capital and operating budget presentation to council on March 26, 2025, followed by the opening of the virtual public budget site on March 28, 2025. Budget community open houses are scheduled for April 1st, 2025 at the Moonstone Fire Hall in the north end of the township, and April 3rd, 2025 at the township's admin building in the south end of the township. The deadline for public comments on the virtual public site is set for April 9th, 2025. And then we have a final budget review, and anticipated council approval will take place on April 29th, 2025, with a contingent meeting on May 8th if necessary. The township's communications will be updated to reflect these changes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Open the floor. Any comments or questions at this time regarding this matter? Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff, I just want to thank you for your additional communication so that the public and ourselves know what to expect. And I think we can all say it's important to have the correct information when we are making decisions. So both us on council and I think the public itself will appreciate, it's going to take a little bit longer, but we're going to have the information that we need to make informed decisions. So thank you for that.
Fantastic comment. Thank you. And yes, I think we all concur with your well-articulated comments. So even Ms. Johnson agrees with them. So that's all that matters. Anyways, well, thank you very much. If there are any other comments, I'll call for the motion. Madam Clerk.
Moved by Young, seconded by Lavoie. Be it resolved that the reports, yes, as listed under item 7, reports of municipal officers for information only be received.
Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? There are none. That carries.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Go ahead.
It's okay. That's passed. Period. We'll be on to 7B. So this is a update on the fire and emergency service. So I'm going to call forward ex or outgoing Chief Dominelli and welcome also incoming Fire Chief Payment. Welcome to the chamber, and just adjust the mic there. I'll just still call you Chief Dominelli so that everyone can hear you at home. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Greenlaw and Council. throughout 2024, the fire department staff have been working to address the issues identified in the 2023 KPMG operational review. Some of the key issues identified in the report were training needs and firefighter certification, communications across the department, recognition and appreciation of members, and firefighter compensation. Within the first 6 months of 2024, a promotional process and a competition was initiated, and 8 firefighters were promoted to officers in the department. We started an aggressive training program in 2024, again, with scheduling certification testing in April, May, and in September. And moving forward, we do have an aggressive training plan for 2025 and 2026 to meet the July 1st certification for all our firefighters. Another initiative we took to make sure communications and recognition was promoted throughout the department was myself and Deputy Chief at the time attended station training sessions so that we could provide updates on initiatives and programs. And we also recognize certain individuals that receive certification trainings, certificates at these training events. We also initiated regular district chief and officer meetings. And the other big thing that I'd like to highlight is to promote the first line of defense of public education and prevention. Oro-Medonte Fire created their own Instagram, and I'll call it X account, I guess is the proper word, on social media. And I think that's a key, again, looking at recognition of our firefighters, where we can, again, recognize them on these social platforms. And then also we can promote fire safety throughout us attending public events and any other events that are important that help support us, the fire department, do their job. And another key initiative that I'd like to highlight is the involvement of the fire department in new development designs and processes. Fire department staff are invited to attend meetings with other township department staff to provide comment on fire protection and life safety systems and design. I think this collaborative approach ensures the needs of the township are met and that all the departments are working to a common goal. So Mayor Greenlaw and members of council, thank you for allowing me to be your fire chief for the past 12 months. It was an honor and it's greatly appreciated. And also, I'd like to thank you for your support and what you gave me personally so that the fire department could provide excellent customer service to all the visitors and residents of this great community. And again, I'd like to acknowledge CAO Bins and the SMT senior management team for all your support throughout my 12 months. And the rest of the township employees, it's been great working with all the different departments, and they've also offered a lot of great support. And I can't forget about the members of Oro-Medonte Fire and Emergency Services. I can't stress enough, appreciate their number one, their understanding, the acceptance of change, and again, their commitment and dedication to this community and the department. And I'd like to say that, Mayor and Council, that I've highlighted some of the steps that were taken to address the identified issues in the 2024, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief Paymont, which will provide a more in-depth overview of the achievements and accomplishments of Oro-Medonte Fire and Emergency Services.
Thank you, Chief. If we can get the next slide, please. So throughout our time here, and I say our time being the last year, I will rewind back to when Chief Dominelli and Paul Ryan took the helm. I, of course, joined the operation at the start of June. So if we take an in-depth look at what happened here, there was obviously a great deal of change that occurred. I would like to speak to, first and foremost, the change itself was not directly related to any deficiencies that were in place previously. However, the current direction and vision of the previous or the current management, sorry. So the one thing that was identified was department unification. That's one thing that was really focused on very hard, and there's been a great deal of work to break down silos and to unite the department into one fire department across the municipality versus 5 fire departments as it seemed in the past. Obviously, that is an ongoing initiative. However, we are maintaining great strides in our direction with that. As Chief Dominelli alluded to, improving communications and working relationships with volunteer firefighters and the management is something that's been first and foremost when we're trying to create a successful platform to propel the department. With that being said, as the Chief alluded to, many different meetings, many different initiatives have occurred to see that through. We've certainly reviewed the effectiveness of the WEP program. That was a very contentious program throughout the years. And in reviewing that program itself, it was definitely determined that it was not favorable amongst the volunteer firefighters. And the efficiencies of that program itself were definitely less than desired. So we've made some significant changes to that program and certainly improved the overall morale of the department and the effectiveness of that program itself. Another thing was the senior officer involvement at calls. In addition to, not trying to burn out the senior officers as a result of all the work that does occur there, one of the things that we needed to do and was identified is we needed to grow and create some form of succession with the station officers and the volunteer officers that we do have in place. We have very capable officers, and I know council was in attendance at our awards banquet and was able to witness the amount of 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 years of service that were awarded to some of our officers, and obviously the amount of experience that we could tap into that well from is certainly valuable. So we've put a heavy focus on letting our people work, and I believe it's been well received. Attendance has been another big identified issue, and over the last 6 months, I can say, has actually created an opposite problem. We went from not having enough people to almost having too many people at times and trying to find some creative solutions to deal with them. Overall improvement in training, as Chief Dominelli alluded to, with the addition of CTO Hurst and Training Officer Hutchison working within his new role, training has greatly improved. And once again, we've also tried to rely on some of our officers that we have within the stations just to try and provide some buy-in and a general feel of ownership. Fairness and equal opportunity throughout the department has been another big thing. We've tried to create the same opportunities for all members of the department, and again, it's something that's been well received. I cannot take any real credit for this. This would have been Chief Dominelli and Paul Ryan, but a look at how we can improve revenue streams and cost to the end user has certainly generated a great deal of improvement. Having a look at different opportunities has been very interesting as we're closing in on our budget here. Volunteer firefighter compensation has also been another big thing. As it was identified in the KPMG study, our firefighters were certainly on the lower side of how they were compensated, and we're currently undergoing a review of that. Officer development. The officers within the department have a great deal of training to do, and it's to no fault of their own. Just with new standards that were put in within the province that says, as council is well aware, we need to have our firefighters and officers certified to their respective levels. We do have a lot of work to do to hit the July 1st, 2026 deadline. However, we're well on our way, and I have the utmost confidence that we will get there. Standard operating procedures and guidelines have seen a major revamp thanks to Paul Ryan, and we're on our way. and improving the staff model for our daytime response, which has been identified as a low turnout for volunteer firefighters. A great deal has been invested in our own firefighters through the closing of the WEP program to promote our day staff and to invest in our own firefighters. Next slide, please. Just a very brief overview. So the department complement itself does have 7 full-time staff. That would be the fire chief, the deputy fire chief, the chief training, the deputy chief of prevention, the chief training officer, and of course our administrative assistant. We currently have 96 volunteer firefighters operating. However, we've just added 24 volunteer firefighters to the ranks for 120 volunteer firefighters that will be available for service come June. I am also happy to say that that is actually the largest recruitment pool that we've ever had for Oro-Medonte Fire and Emergency Services. So obviously word is getting out that it's not too bad of a place to be. Calls for service last year were 630 calls for service. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as I mentioned, some of the things that we've definitely focused on, and these have been, very, very successful initiatives, compensation review, communication between management and firefighters, social media content has been very well received, and our fire prevention officer, Luke Cuppage, has done an outstanding job with that. Our relationship with our neighboring departments. We've taken the opportunity to explore several different initiatives with our neighbors to provide joint training opportunities, as well as we've engaged in a very active mutual aid program with those fire departments as well. And just to provide a little bit of context or example, when we're working up, we'll just say kind of at the north end of the municipality, on the Highway 12 corridor, it makes a lot of sense to call for our neighbors in Severn, who are 5 minutes away, than try and pull all our resources from the south end of the municipality. It just works. And of course, that is reciprocal. So they've relied on us as well. And as the mutual aid system works, there's no cost associated with that. We provide service to them, they provide service to us. And I just will mention as well that we did play a relatively significant role in the recent big fire in the city of Aurelia, where not only did we provide some assistance at the scene itself, but we actually backfilled one of their fire stations and ran calls throughout the day for them. And we've also really focused hard. We've changed our mission statement to try and generate an overall feel in the department and an overall outlook to put the end user first. That's what's really important at the end of the day. There is no 912. When people pick up the phone and they call 911, that's the option that they have. So we need to provide the best service we can moving forward, and we need to have our residents and our visitors have the utmost confidence in our fire service. Next slide, please. So on the note of staff engagement, we've created a Chiefs Chat newspaper that just highlights the goings on of the fire department and its membership. In 2024, we generated 34 memos to staff versus 1 memo in 2023. We were successfully created our first kids Christmas party, which was very well attended in December. We had, as you're well aware, our first awards banquet that was attended by over 80% of our staff, and we had a total of 130 guests for the first time out. We created a vehicle standardization committee, so as part of the whole unification process to bring the department together, we put out a sign up. We had an individual from each station come out and make the trucks all the same. And it doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but I can assure you there was a lot of work and effort that went into getting that done, and the group did a fantastic job. And finally, we did have a standard operating guideline committee as well. And that group, worked very well to try and create the guidelines that will essentially guide the day-to-day operations of the fire department. Next slide, please. As we mentioned, the recognition that we've put out there is not only the bigger stuff that's easy to see. It's just the small day-to-day things, and taking the opportunity, as Chief Dominelli mentioned, to get out to training, to speak with the firefighters, to congratulate them, to thank them, and I think that's probably one of the biggest things. And when we think about us going to work on a day-to-day basis, most of us don't go to work to get thanked. That's because that's why we're going to work. But when you think about how the volunteer fire service works, and the fact that these people are coming out at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're missing birthdays, they're missing dinners, they're missing whatever it is. Maybe they're showing up late to their job themselves because they want to be there. And that's the big thing, right? Is just showing our appreciation for them and letting us know that we do appreciate their service. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, a review of the WEP program was conducted by management and considered with respect to the feedback that was provided through the KPMG study, that it just was not the most effective program that we did have in place. And one of the big things for that was we did have those WEP firefighters available to us, but when we start out with 6 or 7 at the start of the year, we're training them, we're giving them a lot of education, we're giving a lot of them opportunity, and we're making them very desirable to career departments. And as great of a job as these individuals do, we did end this year's program with 3 out of 7. So it's certainly, not the most beneficial investment that we can make within the township. Additionally, it did create other issues with respect to supervision. We did find that there was a real lack of supervision when it came to these individuals. So with that being said, we certainly did pause things and just take an overall look. The problem itself, or the program itself, did generate approximately $100,000 in hard costs, so wages to those individuals, and another $80,000 in soft costs, so staff time going into training and fuel for vehicles. With that being said, we were able to reinvest that in our day staff program, and we're still able to cover those problem areas in that 8-hour time span. However, with our regular volunteer staff. So now they're receiving the training opportunities, they're receiving the updated trainings and certifications, and they're going to stick around. So it's certainly been successful. Next slide, please. So with respect to our firefighter training update, and as I mentioned, our training division has done an outstanding job trying to get things where we need to be. In 2024, we had 50 members pass their Firefighter 2 written exams. We had 16 members certified to NFPA 1002 pump operators, which allows them to drive and pump the fire apparatus. We had 10 members certified to NFPA 1035 fire and life safety educator. We had 34 members certified to 1072 hazmat awareness. 42 members passed NFPA 1072 hazmat operations, and we had 6 members complete their DZ training. So there's been a great deal of training that's went on, and obviously, the big people to thank here are the firefighters themselves. This is stuff that goes on above and beyond their required duties with respect to responding to calls, training, and duty maintenance. So just a basic timeline as to how that all looks. We have, obviously, as Chief Dominelli alluded to, an aggressive training plan for 2025. So we've already had 12 members complete a Fire Instructor 1 course, and as you can see along the way, I won't go into detail, but at the end of the day, there isn't many months there that don't require some form of training or additional work from our firefighters. Emergency management was obviously an area that was identified as something that could have used some work. So I'm very happy to say, thanks to the work of the team, that we were able to make our 2024 compliance. I know Chief Dominelli spent a great deal of time on the plan, and we also did secure the services of one of our day staff as well to put a great deal of work into that. And at the end of the day, we've had a very robust training program for township staff, as well as an up-to-date plan. Fire prevention and public education, as the chief alluded to, obviously the first line of defense. So fire inspections, requests, complaint, or licensing, we did 181. 2024 fire inspections for large multi-residential unit facilities, Carriage Hills specifically, we did 172 inspections, 50 follow-up inspections, total of 403 inspections. Fire and life safety related activities, we had 163 opportunities that went on throughout the township throughout the year, and we created 2,509 burn permits. Capital project updates. We, through a community emergency preparedness grant, we were able to secure washer extractors for bunker gear. Again, one of the focuses that we certainly want to have at the front of the spear is ensuring our firefighters are safe as they conduct our duties. Previous to this, the department just utilized residential washing machines for their bunker gear, but through the securement of this grant, we were able to secure 3 extractor washers, one of which is going to go in Station 1, one in Station 2, and one in Station 3. We were able to put a new pumper truck in service at Station 2, and we were able to relocate the previous pump 2 to Station 6, which improved their apparatus response capabilities. We secured a new breathing air compressor, as well as we sold Pump 7, Pump 4, and Support 3, as we deemed them to be surplus apparatus. We're also well on our way to constructing a training grounds behind the newly erected Station 2. For Station 3, building improvements are certainly on the list. We conducted several in the past. We did have some roof repairs that were needed, the installation of new LED lights. However, there is a few more to go. Station 5, we were able to place a new rescue truck into service, largely made possible by a donation from the Warminster Legion, and Support 5 was removed from service and sold as surplus. Station 6 also did receive a diesel exhaust system, once again, to improve the health and safety of our firefighters, and LED lighting throughout the structure. So where do we go from here? We want to continue to advance the recommendations from the Fire Service Review. Obviously, we do have a few more to go, but I feel very confident in saying that we're well on our way to completing that list ahead of schedule. Training development, obviously, that's going to be a very big thing as we move forward and we approach that July 1st, 2026 deadline. Recruitment and retention. Seems like we got a handle on the recruitment. That's pretty good. Obviously, retention is the big thing. And I know speaking with some of the members, you know, they've certainly come forward with some good ideas, and it's just now a matter of trying to implement them. Team unification and engagement, certainly improving, in my opinion, on an everyday basis, and it's something that I'm very proud of. We obviously want to continue to build strategic relationships, not only with our neighboring departments, but obviously with the different departments within the municipality. I feel the working relationships that we've created with the building department, the water department, sorry, environmental services, and bylaw have been really beneficial. We've been able to come together on several projects and really put our best foot forward. Obviously, we're still continuing to optimize our fleet. Again, it did appear that there was several surplus apparatus, and I feel by reducing the levels or the apparatus that we have in place, we have not reduced the level of service that we're providing. And we want to certainly focus to be carried forward as part of the 2025-26 business plan. Obviously, it's important that what we do is in line with the strategic plan of the municipality. That is all I have, and I would open the floor to any questions.
Well, first and foremost, I want to congratulate you on becoming the new chief. Yeah, I can see from the agenda you've got a lot in front of you, but I also want to take time to recognize and thank Chief Dominelli. It's been a great year. And I commend you for the leadership you've provided our fire and emergency services. You had a lot to overcome, and you've done a great job. And as part of your character alluded, it was because of the people that surrounded you. And, you know, you were the right person to get us to where we are. And I think, you know, you've laid out a path for how we need to move forward. So it's not like you just came in, corrected some things, and then off you go golfing in Florida. But you know, you've given, you know, Chief Payment a path forward, which he's embraced and will continue. I also think it's important that to recognize I got 2 gentlemen in the back of the room that have been long-time serving firefighters. Murray Langman and Earl Briggs, and you know it's. I think if I don't have my glasses on, did I get it right or no? Gary, sorry, but you know what? it shows the commitment and passion. Like, we were at the awards dinner, and the people that have served here longer than anyone I know has ever held down a full-time job. Well, so you were a thought at one time. So, but anyways, it shows the commitment and the strength of Oro-Medonte as a community. Like, we're a collection of a bunch of small towns and hamlets, but how everyone comes together, and the commitment that the volunteer fire departments provide this township. And you know what? Because a full-time department would be a significant increase to people's taxes. And you know what? So I think we all need to appreciate and thank our firefighters and the organization more often, because they are there when we need them. And I hope the vast majority of us never need them. You know, I'm happy to come to your dinner once a year and recognize the efforts that have been put forward. So I just want to take this time to thank all of you for what you've done, and I know it's been a huge and steep hill to climb, and we're not all the way to the top yet, but I'm very confident where we are today. And I'll open the floor to anybody else who would like to comment. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Chief Dominelli and Chief Payment. I think the thing that I keep coming back to is the fact that you did receive your largest applicant pool ever. And what I think that signifies is a trust and a confidence in the firefighting service that we have, and their ability to go to their friends and their family and say, hey, come join this incredible team and do the incredible work that you guys do every day. I think it speaks volumes to the leadership that the two of you and the rest of the team have shown to buy into this plan, because sometimes change is very hard, but to have such a big change and to have the community of firefighters embrace that change to the point where they're asking their friends, hey, come join the team, because I think that's where you get that amount of engagement is a culture of success and of feeling appreciated. And I think that stems from the two of you and everyone at the service. So just to echo the mayor's comments, thank you so much.
Councillor Young.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councillor David as well as the mayor there in terms of their comments as to the fire service. But again, part of the reason for and I'm glad to see the increase of applicants to the fire service. And part is that, as you well know, is taking pride in the organization itself. It's become much more professional, given the amount of training, and as I echoed that or stated that during the banquet there, that the amount of training that has gone on and will continue to go on. And I think you're always going to have a steady supply of applicants giving it to fire service. And again, the pride and the professionalism of the Oro-Medonte fire service. But I just want to mention something what the mayor said as well, that in terms of going once a year to a banquet there, and he's prepared and will go to a free meal every week if you provide one. Okay, I just want to mention that to you, knowing him as I do.
Thank you for your observation. Deputy Mayor Lavoie.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm not going to say too much, but other than I think we can all feel a little safer in our homes because of both of you and the work that you've done. So thank you.
Supplemental for
nothing about you, Mayor. Do you have a firefighters that are deemed or trained to be fire investigators specifically that go to fire scenes?
Through you, Mayor Greenlaw, to Councillor Young. It's a bit of a work in progress. There was a bit of a direction that was started with the fire prevention staff. However, it's a little more complicated to try and have the firefighters trained in that capacity, and it's just simply based on availability. So it's not something that we've dismissed. However, as we kind of move forward, it's one of the things that we're focusing on with the chief and the deputy chiefs and our fire inspector. And does the possibility exist to branch out in the future? Absolutely, it does, but we're just not there yet.
Okay, Councillor Bart. Oh, gee, oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Shell.
Well, thank you, fellows, through you, Mayor Greenlaw, to the entire crew of our fire department. We're very proud of you. We're proud of the way you conduct yourselves at your fire calls and the way you are out in the community to help the community by being there at events and promoting fire safety and emergency safety in the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Bard.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. Just reflecting back to how I felt about a year ago after leaving the meeting and how I feel now. So thank you to everybody. And I wish you all the best, Chief Dominelli. As for a question, the relationships with the surrounding municipalities and maybe on more of a personal level, living on Highway 12, it's nice to know that we have these relationships. So do you meet with these other departments like in person, or like is there a regular meeting? Or I guess I just want to know how that relationship will foster and get better, and then you will continue to work with each other.
Through Mayor Greenlaw to you, Councillor Bard. So as it's been in the past, those relationships did not exist. So how it's generally been on a broad spectrum. We're all part of the same Simcoe County Mutual Aid Association. But realistically, it's relationships that maybe existed from past lives. So the new fire chief in Severn, Chief Rich Lowell, he and I had a working relationship that existed when he was in Midland and I was in Tiny. Obviously, Chief Dominelli, his relationship with Aurelia, and as well as my relationship with the Springwaters, as well as Chief Dominelli's with the Springwater. So as it sits right now, just because of all the other things that we've done, we have not had the opportunity to get too formal. We did meet with the chief and deputy from Springwater to just discuss some potential boundary changes, as well as we did meet with the chiefs of Severn to do the same and just improve those working relationships. So, is there a formal meeting process as it sits right now? No, but certainly it is something that we've identified moving forward. The only real formal process that we have right now, which has been the most beneficial, is that of our training people meet with their training people just to try and get to where we need to be.
Perfect. Any other comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, may we have a motion? And gentlemen, thank you very much. I know it's kind of repetitive, bit of an echo chamber in here, but your efforts and everything you've done with your team have been great. And now I just triggered something in CAO Ben's head, so we'll sit back and listen a little more.
Sorry, thank you, Mayor Greenlaw. Just on behalf of the senior management team, want to recognize Chief Dominelli for his commitment over the last 12 months. And thank you, Council, for all of those comments. I think that, they're certainly echoed from the senior management team. And looking in the rearview mirror, a lot has been accomplished in the past 12 months, and things like pride, commitment, community were all themes that we heard today and themes that we heard at the awards banquet. And that's really a testament, I think, to the essence and the deep roots that exist in the fire service. And really the character of Chief Dominelli as part of the leadership team has always been there whenever there's been things that we needed to work through. Even when he's been on vacation in Florida, he's zoomed in to be part of the team to work through that. So thank you very much on behalf of the leadership team, Dominelli. Those same characteristics exist with Mr. Payment as well, and he's been a welcome addition to our team. And we're in really good hands, I think, with our fire service. And thank you very much, gentlemen, and to the team in fire and emergency services as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, may we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, the motion was combined with the for information item earlier.
Do you want me to call the vote now?
You already called the vote on that. We're good.
We're too caught up in the Oscar moment that we...
But just for clarity, the items that were included in that motion was the presentation by Shannon Johnson, our Director of Finance, Chief Financial Officer, the memorandum, and also Chief Dominelli's and Chief Payments presentation that they just made.
Okay, so we'll move on to item 8. Can we have a motion for the draft bylaws, please?
Moved by Shell, seconded by Clark. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-013 be read a first, second, and third time, be engrossed by the clerk, signed, and be passed, be engrossed by the clerk, be signed and sealed by the mayor.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? There are none. May we have a motion for the confirmation bylaw?
Moved by Bard, seconded by Shell. Be it resolved that bylaw 2025-016, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the special council meeting held on Thursday, February 6, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, being engrossed by the clerk, signed and sealed by the mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All in favor? That is carried. And may we have a motion to adjourn?
Moved by Clark, seconded by Young. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 4:55 p.m.
All in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a great evening.